few moments silence, please. Thank you. Could you remain standing for the council prayer? Almighty God, grant to us all needed guidance, wisdom and judgment as we face the tasks before us, and enable us now and always to worthily discharge the trust placed by the people in our hands. Amen. Amen. Just a reminder, everyone, that we're live streaming, so just be aware of that.
There's nobody on Zoom. No.
And we've got Zoom attendees.
No, there are none.
There's no Zoom attendees here tonight.
No, there are none.
No apologies.
No.
And public forum.
No.
Buddy. Interest register. Any changes? I've got this.
That's just the membership.
Yep. I seem to have two. Minutes of the meeting held of Risk and Assurance Committee of the 22nd of March.
Move those received, Your Worship. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 23rd of March.
Move those, Your Worship. Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Infrastructural Services Committee held on the 29th of March.
I'll move those be received, Your Worship, and at the same time I would like to also move that Council adopts item 7.1 and 7.2, which are the roading and traffic bylaw review and the parking control bylaw review at the same time.
I would second those.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion?
Ms. Suter is here if there are any issues relating to the bylaw report.
Are there any issues you had, Ms. Suter?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, just only to note that we have made a few minor administrative amendments to fix a few dates that were incorrect in the bylaws. They will come into force on 1st of July. And we have also removed section 21, which related to occupation of vehicles on roads. As it's been raised to our awareness, that was not in alignment. So just to update you all on that.
Thank you. Any questions? We have a mover and second.
Yes, you do. Councillor Pottinger and Councillor Lewis moved and seconded it.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Councillor Pottinger and Councillor Lewis. Further questions, discussion? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Performance Policy and Partnerships Committee held on the 29th of March.
Move that those are received, Your Worship.
Seconded, Your Worship.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Minutes of the extraordinary meeting of council held on the 29th of March. Again,
I'll move those.
thank you.
Second those, your worship.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Minutes of the meeting of the Infrastructural Services Committee held on the 7th of April.
I'll move those, Your Worship.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And a recommendation we have follows to the council. Who's leading us on that one?
I think it's explanatory, Your Worship.
I can move that, Your Worship. It's the Q Park Reserve classification.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And we move down to the minutes of the meeting of Performance Policy and Partnerships Committee held on the 13th of April.
Move those received, Your Worship.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Minutes of the meeting of, done that. Minutes of the meeting of the Bluff Community Board held on the 19th of April.
I'll move that we receive those, Your Worship.
I'll second that, your worship.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Okay. We adopted the roading and traffic and parking bylaws. We adopted them under a previous resolution. Any discussion, questions? No. Okay. Moving on to the working together update from Project Governance Group. Where are we going with that?
Your Worship, I'm happy to speak to the report. The title update report is a bit of a misnomer really, because this report presents for Council's consideration two of the foundation documents that the working groups and the PGG have been working on over the last period of time. Those documents give effect to Richard Thompson's recommendations, at least some of them, including some of those that the Council itself adopted in November last year. So there are a suite of resolutions dealing with the endorsement of an MOU between yourself and Deputy Mayor Clark, which I can advise the meeting has been signed. There's a resolution dealing with professional development opportunities for councillors, and then there's the council charter. There are also some matters for the council to note. With your leave, Your Worship, can I recommend that we deal with item 7 first, that being the endorsement of the council charter. The document's been some time in the making, and it sets out a suite of guiding principles that are relevant to today's decision making and to our collective conduct into the future. Jeff and I have canvassed councillors' support or otherwise for the charter, and pleased to advise that all members of council, including yourself, Your Worship, have indicated to us that they are prepared to vote to adopt the charter and to sign it as a signal of their and your individual and collective commitment to its principles. Thank you, Your Worship.
Is there discussion, questions?
Your worship, I'm happy to move that item 7 is endorsed.
Happy to second that, Your Worship.
It's moved and seconded. Item 7. Discussion, questions, put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried.
So are you going to stop and sign it now?
Sorry.
So the charter is over here, and there's the opportunity for you to take a pause in the meeting and for each councillor to come and sign it. Perhaps you might like to sign it first, and then to ask others to come up.
If you'd like to come forward, councillors, one at a time.
I want my pen back. Thank you. Oh, no.
Just guess to change their mind.
Run now.
Put on your 2 L's. Aye. Get away with it.
Too slow.
We're moving through it.
Haven't seen you.
Yeah, I know. It's just down here.
Excellent.
And you are. Hop.
Excellent.
Now, just where do we go to next?
Still in there, you can go 6 recommendations above that. She handed it
So
to
the
me,
six
still in there.
Your
recommendations.
Worship, if I may, can I suggest that you put the receipt of the report, then I may briefly speak to the MOU, which is recommendation number 2. So perhaps if you could put the receipt of the report, we'll move through.
I'll move that. Seconded, Your Worship.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Questions, put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, you will recall a specific observation in the Thompson report that the organisation would benefit from clarification of the role of Deputy Mayor. A number of approaches to defining that role have been considered, and on balance, having worked with the 2 signatories to the MOU, it was agreed that an MOU, as opposed to a job description, which may have other implications, would be the preferred approach. Before handing back to you, Your Worship, can I acknowledge the contribution that my colleague Jeff Grant has made to getting this agreement through, and to you both for the I guess approach and in some respects the concessions that you have both made to get an arrangement in place which will serve the future organisation well, assuming, of course, that there is a binding commitment to give effect to the obligations that it contains. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Ludlow.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to move recommendation 2 that Council endorses the Memorandum of Understanding, but with the addition that the Chief Executive take the necessary steps to support the Deputy Mayor in supporting the Mayor in representing the city.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Further questions, discussion? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Item 3, PD.
I'd be happy to move recommendations 3 to 6 as a block, Your Worship.
Okay, we seconded for
I'll
that.
second that, Your Worship.
Seconded. Any questions, discussion?
Can I just add, do we need to also include item number 1, the working together report, receiving it?
We've done that. haven't we?
Oh, we've done that, sorry.
Discussion, further discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
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 Carried.
Your Worship, can I make one other observation before we move off the item, and that really relates to page 125 of the agenda, where we note reasonably cryptically that the commitment that you have recently all made to the Charter has already been tested somewhat, and that is in relation to concerns that exist within the organisation in relation to an ODT story that quoted you, sir, in relation to the IT support that you were receiving. Councillors will know that the Chairs Group was sufficiently concerned about that to seek retraction and a correction from yourself, Your Worship, and we were advised today that that retraction and apology wouldn't be forthcoming. At that point, I'll leave the matter as it is for councillors rather than an external advisor to determine whether or not any other action is taken. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Edmondson.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd actually like to speak to that item and move a motion in regards to it, but I'm just wondering whether it is appropriate that you are chairing this part of the meeting and whether somebody else should be chairing.
Yes, that was a matter that was raised at the...
Can't hear you, sir. Can't hear
Oh,
you.
that matter was raised at the Chairs meeting.
Yeah, I would move that we, out of any risk of conflict, that we do instate a new chair for this item.
I'll second that motion.
Respectfully, might I suggest that this matter would probably sit under PPP and that might be best positioned for Councillor Ludlow to take the reins?
I would second that.
Considered. Any further discussion, questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's carried.
Thank you. With your leave, Your Worship, I'll remain down here. Councillor Emerson.
Thanks, Councillor Ludlow. I think that Mr Mackenzie has raised a really good point about the article that appeared in the ODT on the 9th of April regarding the technology training that the Mayor believes he did not receive or was denied. And at the time when that was raised with chairs, we indicated to the Mayor that this information was inaccurate and we asked him to retract it, which he did not do, and the article subsequently was published. We also have subsequently asked for a public apology regarding that article because we believe it paints the council in a bad light, and as has been mentioned, that was declined. So the motion that I would like to put forward in regards to this is that the council records its concern about the factually incorrect statements His Worship the Mayor made in the ODT on Friday the 9th of April 2021, where he claimed that he had been denied one-on-one training, IT training by council. And secondly, that council records its disappointment that he has failed to correct the facts and to apologise in an equivalent public forum for the harm caused to the organisation as requested by the Chairs Group.
Thank you. We have a motion. I'm looking for a seconder.
I'll second that.
Is there any way we can get that motion up on the board? It's rather long.
Yes. Yes, we will get that on the screen for you, Councillor.
It's open for discussion. Councillor Pottinger.
Look, it's very accurate what Councillor Munson has said. I actually see it personally as firstly a breach of the code of conduct. I spoke up against the media protocol purely because I thought the code of conduct had it covered. Section 6.2 of our code of conduct, the last item there refers specifically to media comments, and it states media comments must not be misleading and should be accurate within the bounds of reasonableness. Now, I did not seek a code of conduct procedure to be put in motion because we've been there, we've done that, it costs a lot of money. And this is what we've talked about at the Chairs Group, and I think what Councillor Munson has raised just makes us aware that we need to be in this working together as a group and obey by the rules. It doesn't gag anyone, it just means that when you speak, you actually speak factually correct. So that's my take on the situation.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Yes, I just want to reiterate what Councillor Pottinger said. I was at the Chairs meeting when this was raised a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I found it really difficult. The Mayor stated at that meeting that he was taking a different tack with the media and was going to be on the front foot, and his colleagues were a bit upset by the fact that what he was saying about the one-on-one IT training was incorrect, and challenged him about whether that change of tact and freedom of speech gave him the opportunity to be telling something less than the truth. And his response was, well, I've got greater mana in the community than any of us will ever have. And that was frustrating because the last 3 or 4 or 5 media comments we've had in the last 3 or 4 weeks have all been negative of council, and most of them have been unjustified. So I think going forward we need to have more of a collective agreement that will be positive about what we're doing and not negative. And what has come up as part of this debate about the request for an apology was whether the Mayor had in fact actually had any IT training. And I can clarify for this meeting that I gave the Mayor and his partner 2.5 hours of training on due diligence books. It was in a method that was very easy for anybody to encompass, and it was spelled out very easily. And so to be told in the media that it hadn't been was not only a reflection on council and council staff who also helped in that, but it was also a reflection on the work that I'd done as well. So I support the motion that's put.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Soper, then Councillor Abbott, then Councillor Scout.
I'll leave the others off because since I was the seconder, I'll...
Okay, thank you. Councillor Abbott.
Well, I'll be led by you and your advice and the CE, but I am asking whether the Mayor is going to respond, whether he retaliates, and is he allowed to?
Yes.
Because I'd like to hear his side of the story. And the reason I say that is that with respect, the committee that have formulated this discussion today, and it has been formulated, it's been almost orchestrated, we, as fellow councillors who are out of that umbrella, it's a bit of a surprise policy. We don't like surprises. It was said before that we would never surprise each other. I think that might even be in the charter. But this has come as a surprise. So with only half the facts that I'm hearing from Ian and others, I want to hear what the Mayor has to say.
Thank you. We'll come to that in just a moment. I think Councillor Scout wanted to speak, but these have been in the minutes from the Chair's meeting that are circulated after each one. Councillor
But that was
Scout.
only today.
No,
12
from a
o'clock.
couple of weeks ago.
Look, I've got it here. Came through at 12
Yep, from
o'clock.
2 weeks ago.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wonder, given the information we've had this afternoon, backing up what Councillor Ludlow says, the information was out a couple of weeks ago. But given the information we've had today in the Chair's meeting, Your Worship, and given the tone of the meeting now, I just wonder if you might like to take the opportunity now to reflect and perhaps take this opportunity and maybe change your mind so that we can all move forward. That would be a really positive mood if we could do that. So I'm asking you if you would do that.
No.
Thank you.
Councillor Soper.
Thank you, Councillor Ludlow. As the seconder of the motion, I want to absolutely confirm that there was no pre-arrangement about this matter today. And I certainly want to confirm that it was 2 weeks ago that this was raised in an open report to us all about the Chair's meeting. I'm supporting this motion because I think that this is an issue on which it is time. We have all just signed an agreement that we have all undertaken to hold to. Correction and apology in an equivalent public forum is a reasonable request. It's a standard to which we should all hold ourselves. It's a standard to which I believe we have just committed in the charter we have signed, that if any of us do make these sorts of incorrect statements, that they will be corrected and an apology will be made in an equivalent forum. That is an exceptionally reasonable request. It's, to my mind, actually quite a low standard to which we should hold ourselves. I hope that we hold ourselves to much higher standards, but this one I think is fundamental to this council moving on as part of showing the people who elected us that we are indeed a council who is united and can move on. So it is very disappointing to hear the Mayor say no to a very simple and reasonable request. I can also confirm and back up with Councillor Clark that in fact before Councillor Clark undertook the one-to-one training that Councillor Clark has mentioned, I have sat with the Mayor and others in training on our diligent board books. As many of you know, because of my shoulder injury, I was one of the last adopters of the board books. And we went through a standard training with myself and some of the others who had adopted late. And the Mayor, and to my memory, sat beside me during that time and received assistance from others in that training. So there has been an adequate amount of training. It was upsetting to see those particular comments in the media, and I think that this is a very reasonable request and a reasonable way in which this has been brought up.
Thank you. Any other speakers? If not, Councillor Abbott, the motion is up there now. It records Council's reaction and clarification. If there are no further speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
I'm going to abstain because I would love to have heard the Mayor's response, to be quite frank.
You did.
Well, to a degree, not the response.
Councillor Clark?
I think it would be helpful going forward for the Mayor to have a chance to explain other than just to say no. I think that would be a positive thing if we get to a final vote. If that can be facilitated.
It could well be. Do we want to do that now?
I think that would be good. I think give Tim the opportunity to speak to the issues that have been put to him and address what Lindsay's raised as well.
Your Worship.
Yes, thank you. I did have a change of policy in the past. I didn't comment on any issues that were put before me, and it didn't work. So I decided to change my policy and respond immediately when the media questioned me on any issue. And that's why I'm abstaining. I do want to have the opportunity, and I will be looking for it, to find out exactly what the facts are. It's a bit of a who shared seed. And I know I was angry over the weekend too, because the battle for Crete was blamed purely on New Zealanders, and that to me seemed a very unfair assertion, especially for international television to take. And that's why I want to make sure that before making a public statement, I am fully informed about exactly what has happened.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Abbott?
So therefore, Sir Tim, do you acknowledge that you did have training?
All those issues will be covered.
Councillor Clark?
Yes, Lindsay, for your benefit, I've got a record here.
Yeah, I just want an acknowledgement from Sir Tim.
We definitely had the training.
Okay, it's been put to the vote. Councillor Abbott, your abstention is noted.
Has it been put to the vote?
Yes, you asked to abstain. That would be the end of that matter, sir. I'll return you to the chair.
Thank you. Were we up to item 3?
4, I think.
4. ICC draft charter.
They have, so we're now moving to public excluded? Yeah, we're now moving to public.
Oh. Well, I'd like to thank all the members of the public and media and for your attendance here today.
I'll move that we go into public excluded.
I'll second that.